It's 2018, you're scrolling through Facebook. You tap a little button labeled Protect. Sounds harmless, maybe even smart. Millions of other users do the same thing. What you just installed is called VPN Protect, a free VPN, a privacy tool, or so Facebook wants you to believe. Because behind the scenes, it's doing the exact opposite. This is the story of how Facebook built a secret surveillance machine, spied on teenagers, intercepted encrypted data from its competitors, and faced almost no real consequences for any of it. The pressure to dominate. By 2013, Facebook is on top of the world. Over 1 billion users. The biggest tech IPO in US history, $16 billion raised in a single day. Mark Zuckerberg has built the most powerful social network on the planet. But there's a problem. Young users, the ones who drive trends, the ones every advertiser wants, are losing interest. They're drifting toward newer, shinier apps. And for Zuckerberg, that's an existential threat. His response, a strategy that would later be described as copy, acquire, and kill. In 2012, Facebook buys Instagram for $1 billion. At the time, analysts thought it was reckless. $1 billion for a 13-person photo app that wasn't even profitable. They were wrong. Within 6 years, Instagram would be worth roughly $100 billion. Next, target. Snapchat. Snapchat launched in 2011. Its appeal was simple. Photos that disappear after a few seconds. No screenshots without the sender knowing. Teenagers loved it. It was messy, funny, unpolished. The opposite of Instagram. Zuckerberg wanted it badly. In late 2012, he offered Snapchat's founders $1 billion. They said no. In 2013, he came back with $3 billion. They said no again. Evan Spiegel, Snapchat CEO, later said he didn't want to repeat what he saw as Instagram's mistake, selling too cheap, giving up too much. Fine, if he couldn't buy Snapchat, Zuckerberg would find another way in. The secret weapon. In 2013, Facebook quietly acquired an Israeli startup called Onavo for around $200 million. On the surface, Onavo made practical tools. One product compressed mobile data to help users stretch their plans. Another tracked how much data different apps were consuming. Useful stuff, especially in an era when mobile data was expensive. But Onavo had a hidden value that Facebook cared about far more, because both products routed user traffic through Onavo's own servers. And the company was sitting on a mountain of behavioral data. They could see which apps people were using, how often, and for how long. This was intelligence that simply didn't exist anywhere else. Almost immediately, this paid off. Onavo data revealed that in Spain, 99% of Android users had WhatsApp installed. In the US, more mobile messages were being sent through WhatsApp than through Facebook itself. That insight helped convince Zuckerberg to pay $19 billion for WhatsApp in 2014, one of the largest tech acquisitions in history. But Facebook's obsession remained Snapchat, and here Onavo ran into a war. Project Ghostbusters, as privacy concerns grew throughout the mid-2010s, partly fueled by Edward Snowden's revelations about NSA surveillance apps, began encrypting their traffic. Snapchat was among them. Suddenly, the data Onavo could see was getting harder to read. In June 2016, Zuckerberg sent an email to 3 senior executives. The message was blunt: Snapchat's traffic was encrypted. Facebook had no analytics on them. Given how fast Snapchat was growing, that needed to change. The email effectively launched what Facebook internally called Project Ghostbusters, named. With striking lack of self-awareness after the enemy it was trying to defeat, the Onavo team's solution was audacious. Here's how it worked. When you connect to a website or app using HTTPS, your device verifies that the site is legitimate using a digital certificate, essentially a trusted ID card. Your phone has a built-in list of trusted authorities that vouch for these certificates. Normally, only Snapchat could decrypt its own traffic. But Onavo Protect wasn't a normal app. When users installed it, they were prompted to also install a root certificate, effectively giving Onavo the status of a trusted authority on their device. Once that was in place, Onavo could intercept Snapchat's encrypted traffic before it ever reached Snapchat's servers, decrypt it, read it, and then re-encrypt it and send it on as if nothing had happened. From Snapchat's perspective, the connection looked perfectly normal. From Facebook's perspective, they now had a front-row seat to everything Snapchat's users were doing inside the app. Facebook's own internal communications described this as a man-in-the-middle approach, the exact same technique hackers use to steal passwords and credit card numbers. The very threat that VPNs are supposed to protect you from. The irony is almost too much. A VPN marketed to protect your privacy. secretly running a large-scale interception operation on your phone. The data Facebook collected wasn't theoretical. After launching Instagram Stories, a near-direct copy of Snapchat's core feature, they could observe Snapchat's growth stalling in real time. Its stock dropped. Facebook appeared to be winning. Ornovo also tipped Facebook off to other rising threats. Live video was surging on apps like Meerkat and Periscope. That intelligence shaped Facebook's decision to add Facebook Live. Not everyone inside Facebook was comfortable with what was happening. The heads of infrastructure engineering and security engineering both raised concerns by email. One wrote directly, "I can't think of a good argument for why this is okay. No security person is ever comfortable with this." Those concerns went nowhere. The research app and the teenagers, even as Ornovo was running its intercession operation, Facebook was building something even more troubling alongside it. In 2016, Facebook quietly launched what it called a research program. Teenagers and young adults, some as young as 13, were offered up to $20 a month to install a VPN called a Facebook Research app. Once installed, the app requested extraordinary access, internet browsing history, encrypted communications, private messages, even content sent by people who had never agreed to anything. The app's code was later found to be remarkably similar to Ornovo Protect's. The program was deliberately kept in the shadows. Facebook didn't promote it publicly. Instead, they used intermediaries, third-party recruiters who often didn't reveal Facebook's involvement until users were already signing up. The app wasn't listed in the App Store instead. Facebook distributed it through Apple's Enterprise Developer Program, a system designed exclusively for companies distributing internal work apps to their own employees. By exploiting this system, Facebook bypassed the consumer privacy protections Apple had built in. When Apple's interface displayed a warning that the software could access private data, Facebook's instructions to participants were simple: ignore it. Users were told they were joining a social media study. They weren't told the true scale of what Facebook was collecting, or why. TechCrunch later reported that participants faced legal threats if they disclosed details of the program. In January 2019, security researcher Will Struffer exposed the full extent of what the Facebook Research app could access, including real-time location data, private videos, and direct messages. The data, he found, was flowing to the same server infrastructure as Ornovo Protect. 7 hours after TechCrunch published its investigation, Facebook announced it was shutting down the iOS version of the app. The reckoning that wasn't the story slowly unraveled in public. Apple removed Ornovo Protect from the App Store in 2018 after determining it violated their new developer policies, which banned apps from collecting data about other apps unless strictly necessary. Facebook had no choice but to comply. A month later, after the Facebook Research app was exposed, Facebook pulled Ornovo from Google Play as well. US senators demanded answers. They accused Facebook of exploiting minors, circumventing privacy protections, and obtaining consent from people, including children, who had no real understanding of what they were agreeing to. In 2023, Australia's federal court ruled that Facebook Israel and Ornovo Incorporated had engaged in conduct likely to mislead consumers. They had marketed Ornovo as a privacy tool while secretly harvesting user data for Facebook's commercial benefit. The companies were ordered to pay a combined $13 million in fines. For Meta, which reported over $50 billion in profit that same year, $13 million is less than a rounding error. Conclusion: this story isn't just about one rogue app. It's about a company that systematically used the language of privacy to conduct surveillance, that intercepted encrypted communications from competitors, that recruited teenagers into a covert data collection program, that had engineers internally raising red flags and pressed forward anyway. Mark Zuckerberg has long described Facebook's mission as connecting the world. But if this episode tells us anything, it's that connection was never really the point. The point was control. And the cost of that control was paid by the millions of people who trusted a little button that said protect.